Good evening. I will now call the August 17th, 2020 City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the council meeting. With respect to the COVID pandemic, we continue to conduct these council meetings in accordance with all federal, state, and local guidelines. Tonight's council meeting is being live streamed. Additionally, the council has provided the public with opportunities to participate in this meeting by submitting comments through the city's website. Any comments received have been distributed to the council and will be included in the minutes for tonight's agenda. We do not have any announcements today. We do have a proclamation, and Councilman Peterson's going to read that.
Thank you. City of Fisher proclamation. Whereas the City of Fisher celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees in the United States and are responsible for 64.9% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2018. And whereas small businesses employ 47.5% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, and whereas 62% of the small businesses reported that they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business, and whereas 65% of the U.S. small business owners said it would be most helpful in their business to have their regulars return and start making purchases again, and whereas 3/4 of the U.S. consumers are currently looking for ways to shop small and support their community, and whereas the City of Fisher supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our community, I, therefore, Scott Fadness, Mayor of the City of Fishers, do hereby proclaim now is the time to shop small in the City of Fishers, and all residents are encouraged to celebrate it. Signed this 12th day of August, 2020, Scott Fadness, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Pete. We're going to move on to the Finance Committee report. Chairman John Weingart is going to give this month's report.
Thank you, President Colby. We have a number of items on the consent. Actually, most of the agenda is really financially related. Item 6B on the consent agenda, and also on the budget financial item 8, 9, 10, and 11 have been reviewed by the Budget and Finance Committee and is recommended for approval tonight. In addition, we met and discussed with the mayor the upcoming budget. We will be moving forward with that here in the next 30 days. In addition, we talked about some other issues as well with respect to the costs of the health department and COVID and the reimbursement from the CARES Act. We feel as though we're going to get a significant reimbursement from the federal to the state to us on the funds that were involved with the health department, and we'll get more exact numbers as we move forward with this.
Thank you, John. We're going to move on to item number 6, the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of 2 items. I is a request to approve the regular meeting minutes and executive session memorandum from the council's July 22nd, 2020 meeting, and a resolution authorizing the city controller to transfer certain funds. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we move on to 7. Item 7 has been pulled from the agenda this evening, so we're going to move on to the budget and financial section of the agenda. Item 8 is a resolution R081720A, and this is pertaining to certain matters in connection with an amendment to the declaratory resolution for the Geis Southeast Economic Development Area, the Geis West Economic Development Area, and the Geis North Economic Development Area, and the approval of a plan amendment for said areas. And so, as you can remember, the council approved financing for Geis Water Park during its July meeting. As part of the process, amendments to certain economic development plans for the Geist area need to be made, which encompass the development of the park. The resolution and order regarding the amendment were approved by both the Fishers Redevelopment Commission and the Fishers Plan Commission and are now submitted to council for its final approval. So I will turn it over to Lisa Bradford for her presentation.
Thank you. For the record, Lisa Bradford, City Controller. As you said, this is pretty much just a statutory process for us to go through to finalize the Geist Waterfront Park. And so what this does is allow us to actually put the improvements into the park by amending the economic development plan for the area.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a motion to approve R081720A?
So moved.
Moved by Pete. Do I have a second? Second by Selena. Now I'm going to open it up for discussion. Are there any comments or questions for the council this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote on Resolution 8081720A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We're moving on to item 9, R081720B. This is a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Fishers approving one or more series of Fishers Redevelopment Authority lease rental revenue refunding bonds, approving an amendment to lease and take other actions related thereunto 126th Street project. So due to the favorable market conditions, we have 3 refundings to consider on tonight's agenda, which are all being considered to affect savings for the city. The first refunding opportunity is with respect to the 126th Street project, which was originally entered into in 2011. So I will turn it over to Lisa Bradford for her presentation.
Thank you. And we're doing on B, right? I show B as the 106th Street project. Is that what, it is 126? Okay,
Yes, 126.
okay, just want to make sure. I'm actually going to talk about the next 3 items together if no one has any objections about that, because they're all interrelated. As mentioned, due to the favorable interest rates right now, it's become prudent for us to look at refunding a number of our bonds. So due to the tax law change, you can't refund every bond that's out there outstanding. You can only refund certain ones that meet a criteria. And so at this time, we have 3 additional bonds for you to consider. And so of those, we have the lease rental revenue bonds of 2013, which is the 106th Street improvement. And right now, with current market conditions, we're anticipating a net present value savings of about $455,000, which is about a little over a 5% savings. Then the lease rental revenue bonds of 2011, which is the 126th Street improvements, we're anticipating about $768,000 worth of savings, which is almost 10%. And then we have, for first reading tonight, the taxable economic development revenue bonds, series 2013. And that has right now anticipated savings of $2.4 million, which is almost 19%. And these are due to, like I mentioned, the favorable market rates. If you recall, we refinanced 3 bonds earlier this year, and the total net present value savings of those bonds was about $1.2 million overall that we have saved. So this gives us an opportunity to add some more substantial savings to the taxpayer and to the city in general.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a motion to approve R081720B?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. Okay, I'm going to open it up now for discussion. Are there any comments or questions from the council?
Lisa, I have a question. Are there any remaining bonds that'll be refunded between now and the end of the calendar year?
It depends on timing. There are 1 or 2 that are potentially could be refunded. However, their savings is only about 100, 150. So right now, they don't kind of merit the necessary cost to refund those. So if for some reason that would change, we'll look and reevaluate those, because we always look to see if we can combine them to kind of just do some cost savings that way. But right now, these are the 3 that are best ready to refund.
Thank you.
I do want to thank Lisa and her team for constantly looking for opportunities to save money. And her team's work has, netted the city $3 or $4 million in cost savings, which is pretty incredible. So Lisa and her team, just great job, and appreciate the work that goes into this.
Yeah, if I may comment, we have some information. We've done 1, 2, 3, we have 5, assuming we pass these 2 and plus 1 at first reading. When you look at the net present value, and always look at the present value, not the gross dollar, but what it's the present value. By our refinancing, we're saving our taxpayers, close to $5 million, roughly. I should say. Actually, no, excuse me. It's $4.8 million. That's pretty crude, just because of our ability to favorable market rates, our AAA bond rating, and our ability to have the opportunity to refinance some of these projects.
There are fees, they're not huge, they get rolled in, and that does take into account the savings numbers you see are netted with those. So this is the true actual savings with those.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to now call for a vote on Resolution R081720B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we're moving on to item 10, R081720C. This is a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Fishers approving one or more series of Fishers Redevelopment Authority lease rental revenue refunding bonds, approving an amendment to lease and take other actions related thereto 106th Street interchange project. So again, due to the favorable market conditions, this second refunding opportunity is with respect to 106th Street interchange project, which was originally entered in 2013. And I'll turn it over to Lisa Bradford for her
already
presentation.
I think she already gave her
Already
presentation.
did.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve item 10, R081720C.
Okay. Okay, so motion by Pete, second by David. And are there any discussion or comments on this? Nope, okay. I'll call for a vote on a resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We're going to move on to item 11, resolution R081720. This is actually an ordinance, and it's authorizing the issuance of the City of Fishers Economic Development Revenue Refunding Bonds and authorizing and approving other actions respect to thereof. This is the first reading of another refunding for the Fisher Station project, which was originally entered in 2013. And Lisa, do you have anything else to say about this?
No,
Okay.
that covered that one.
Any discussions?
No, I'll make a motion to have first reading.
Okay.
Can we suspend the rules, or we have to go through first reading?
No, I think we need to go through, because there needs to be
Just
a
ask the
public hearing.
question.
Well, let's make a motion to suspend the rules then. Approve on
Second
first
that.
reading.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, now
Now,
my
is
motion
there-
stands is to now approve item 11-0812-12720.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pete seconds. Pete motion. John seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion, item 11
Thanks,
passes.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, well done.
So we're going to item 12. Is there any unfinished business or new business?
I do have a question, and I should have interjected when John did the Finance Committee report. John, do you mind just walking us through the schedule for 2021 budget planning?
That's a great question, because what we're looking at, it's going to be in September, and we're trying to firm up our numbers with the state. So once we have that, I'll get some information out to everybody about scheduling, and also the public to also have an opportunity to come in and weigh in as well on this process. So don't have an exhaustive schedule, but we'll get it out to everybody.
So, well, and I especially bring it up because it was documented in the Think Fishers magazine about when the public hearings are and the schedule. So I just want to be,
So in the September meeting, we'll be presenting the budget, and we'll have our public hearing for the budget. We're required to. And we have a certain time period that we have to pass the budget as well.
So we'll, Lisa, we haven't gotten an exact date yet from the state when they're gonna release income tax numbers, have we?
It is September 30th.
September 30th. So what has happened to date, and these are public meetings, anyone's welcome to come to, the Finance Committee meeting has started looking at high-level revenue numbers, and we're modeling out what local option income tax looks like. What we told them at the last Finance Committee meeting is that going forward into the next Finance Committee meeting, we'll start having conversations about expenditures and providing a packet of information to the Finance Committee. Again, those are available to anyone that would like to attend. Also, Ashley Elrod and I have talked about, every year I host an annual meeting where all the media is invited to come in and learn about what the budget is that we're going to propose, so that they can widely disseminate that to any resident that might have interest. And then typically what will happen is Ashley will put out a tremendous amount of information on the website and get everybody up to speed going into the budget. John's exactly correct that right now we're a little bit in flux because it's almost as if we're proposing two different budgets. One that income taxes come in where we hope they do, and one where they come in what the state is advocating for. So we'll provide the council with a full calendar of events backing into that September 30th date. The only struggle that we will have is that literally we'll be proposing two budgets because we don't know what the final revenue number is going to be at this time.
so Mayor Fadness, the public hearing will not be September 21st, is that correct?
We'll still hold a public hearing September 21st per state statute. The only thing
Okay.
I'm sharing with you is that it'll literally be a hearing on like two different budget scenarios, where you could have a scenario where the revenues come in where we think they're going to be, and then there's a worst case scenario where it comes in differently. Normally, when we have our budget hearing, I propose a budget that's grounded in revenue numbers that we already know. This time, we're not going to have that, so it's going to be a little goofy that we are going to have our statutory public hearing in September, but then in October, we could be dealing with a very different budget just because of the news we get on September 30th. And that might call for us to have an additional council meeting if we need to. It's just yet to be determined.
Okay, that was my next question, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not opposed to having additional Budget and Finance Committee meetings as well, as this starts to, kind of the crystal ball starts to clear up here.
Sure, good, thank you.
Sure, Sam.
Completed, like, when's the last date for everything?
November 1st, I believe, is the date that it has to be approved. So we have to have everything done by November 1st. We have a public hearing that has certain statutory requirements for notice to let people know when we're going to have the public hearing. And then I want to make sure council has ample opportunity, and this is why we're still holding the public hearing in September. If for some reason those numbers come in really low in terms of our revenue, then in October, the council, along with myself, we're going to have to do some work to cut things and make decisions. I don't anticipate that. I hope that we're using Mike Reuter's numbers, and I think we'll be close, but you just don't know this year. I mean, COVID has thrown everything off balance, so we wanted to allot as much time as possible in October for any last-minute adjustments we might have to make.
So do we expect the money that we get from changing lit with Carmel and everything to help out at all? Or
Unfortunately,
offset it, or
yeah,
it's-
that's a great question, Sam. Unfortunately, the way that it worked was, if their revenues grew at a rate higher than 2.5%, we would get to capture all of that. Unfortunately, no one's income taxes this year are going to grow. In fact, they're anticipating declines. So unfortunately, I don't believe we'll see any uptick in revenue from Carmel because of the fact that COVID hit and they're going to be below 2.5% like the rest of us. So we may have to revisit that conversation at the legislature to be able to actually see any benefit from it.
Thank you. Any
bet.
more questions? Okay, you have one more?
it's not about the budget?
Sure.
I noticed that we did have a reading for salary ordinance for a new epidemiologist and public health something.
Right.
Are we gonna have that again?
Public health educator?
Yes, that.
Yes.
I know we're in the process of trying to hire a new one. Is that why that came off? Because,
Yeah, well, it was really about making sure that we had clarified which grade they were going to be in, and then in finding out whether those were the job titles we actually wanted to pursue. So we're working through that with the health department, should have it back next month.
Great, okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 13, the community comment period. I'll now open it up for the community comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak has 3 minutes to approach the council, come to the podium and address your name and address for the record, and you'll be given 3 minutes. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, any comments that were submitted by residents in via email has been received and distributed among the council. Those comments are placed on the record for this month's meeting as if the members presented these comments during the community comment section. So looks like we have somebody. Hello?
Thank you. My name is Michael Colby. I live at 7105 Cold Lake Drive here in Fishers, 46038. And I'm going to take a little bit of my 3 minutes to acknowledge the staff for their diligence in saving the taxpayers' money. That's wonderful. And I also want to look at and thank the council for their continuing to maintain AAA rating on the bonds. That's a biggie, and that helps a great deal, so you're to be congratulated. Hope it didn't take too much of my 3 minutes. What I'm here for, I'm president of the River Glen Homeowners Association, and we have an annual meeting every year. I have one set for the 29th of September, depending upon what happens with COVID and our ability to have that meeting. At last year's meeting, I presented to the citizens kind of an optimistic view that we would have some action taken on repairing and maintaining the private roads, in particular Fisher's Crossing. I'd like to be able to report to them this year where we are with that. There hasn't been any activity out there, so in my mind, it appears as though we're going through another season where we're going to be facing potholes and ruts in the road this winter. I've met with some of you, I think Ms. Cobble and Ms. Stoller, all the at-large folks at the time, and then Ms. Stoller. I think I met with Tony Brigado to talk about that. Chris has put out some information on it. I understand the Barrett Law is going to be employed or exercised to try to get the landowners to come forward and take care of their responsibilities. So my bottom line on this is, what's the status? Where are we? I was told that Fisher's Crossing would be at the top of the list, if not on the top. Now, I know things do change and come up that may put us somewhere else. At the same time, I'd like to know what the status is on the maintenance of our streets within the community. I've asked for that for a number of times. I've not been successful in finding out where we are with that. I think Mr. George has had in the past a letter which kind of lists, and it's a wild stab at it. I understand things do change. But we have a pretty busy road over there, Pembroke, which is the main road that comes through our community that goes down to the maintenance building. And we're having dump trucks, fire trucks, police vehicles, trailers going down a residential street. So that street's not the same classification as you would find, say, in some of the other interior streets. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I guess I'm over my time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
So Mike, I can respond to a little bit of that, and then I'm happy to follow up with you after this meeting. So within, I would say, the last 45 days at the Board of Public Works, which is the group that's handling all the private road issues, Jason Taylor came back, our Director of Engineering, and presented an assessment of private roads. And you might have remembered doing that exercise when you were on the town council a number of years ago.
Sure.
It was essentially an update of those private roads to our current status today. And what Jason really took a look at with our board was the criteria of which it would take to allow a private road to be considered public, what we would want to take, because as you can imagine, there are certain private roads out there that the city shouldn't have be in the business of taking over, that don't act like traditional public roads, that shouldn't be on there. So Jason did go through that exercise with the board. I'll be happy to send you that evaluation as well afterwards, so you can present that to your HOA meeting.
And that's private roads, not residential streets.
That's
which is
correct.
another list.
That's private roads. So Fisher's Crossing, I can promise you, was on that evaluation, was pretty high up on the list as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Good to see you, Mike.
Is there anyone from the public here wishing to speak? Okay, seeing that there is none, I'm going to close the community comment. Do I have a motion
Cecilia,
to?
could I just for, real
Yes.
briefly here, I wanted to commend the team here. Had a constituent from Spyglass Falls email me wanting me to take a look at some ADA sidewalks that were put in and road improvements. And, sometimes we people, you hear about all the bad things, but some really great things I see. That your team was very reactive. Drove out there, drove around, emailed the resident back, emailed our team, they emailed back, and what the concern was is just some of the finish on the ADA accessible sidewalks, and certainly enough, there's a punch list out there. We're gonna come back and do some landscaping, but just wanted to thank, engineering team, Public Works, and all those folks that, they were just really awesome about getting back to me today and saying, hey, we're looking at it. I forwarded on to the resident. He was pleased that we're taking care of things. It just, every once in a while, I like to say thank you to the team and things that they do for our community.
We'll definitely pass that along. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
John.
Thanks, John. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? Second by Selena. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.